Hachette Audio presents The Daughters of Madurai, written by Rajasree Variyar, read by Vaishnavi Suryaprakash.
To Archer for his storytelling, and Amma for her strength. Prologue, 2019. A girl is a burden. A girl is a curse. I read this in the articles and reports and books I've downloaded onto my phone. There are a dozen reasons why so many families in India don't want a girl. Reasons rooted in India's centuries-old pastiche of traditions. When she gets married, her parents pay a dowry to the husband's family. It's supposed to be her inheritance, her share of their parents' wealth. It's illegal. It has been since 1961. But they don't call it dowry anymore. They are gifts, ounces of gold, white goods, land, piling high on her parents' shoulders, driving them into the dirt. More than one dowry can leave families destitute. She doesn't carry the family name. Without a boy, the family dies. She has no independence of wealth. Until recently, she couldn't have a bank account without a husband or a father. She could not own property. In the records, in history, she doesn't exist. Her education is basic. She struggles to earn income. She can't perform her parents' funeral rites, and without those rites, her parents will never reach nirvana. In some places, up north, there are so few girls now that they're kidnapped from other states, sold into marriage in families whose language they don't know, sold into slavery. The flights, the hops from Madurai to Chennai, Chennai to Sydney, bring me no sleep. Instead, I read until my eyes ache. Chapter 1. Madurai, India, 1992. Almost 2 months before her conception. She does not exist even in thought. Janani knew, the minute the midwife placed her naked, squalling, soft as silk daughter in her arms, that she couldn't lose this one. An image came to her mind, bearing a bundle gone cold and still, in the dirt by the young coconut palm. Her hands drew the hated little body closer. Tiny limbs moved in fitful pumps as Janani looked down into a face as round and purple as a mangosteen. The baby's mouth shifted over the swollen skin of her breast, and her plaintive wail died as she found the nipple and began to feed. Her minute fingers rested against the skin over Janani's heart. Janani watched her in the light of the oil lamp, her eyes trailing along each line of her body, trying to find something that made her less than perfect. Rock, my little peacock. The lullaby escaped through her lips, the first words she'd managed since that last pain-riddled push. Hands were fussing around her, tender and papery. Kamala, the old strong midwife who had delivered most of the rest of Usilampatti district over what seemed like centuries. Janani barely noticed, until someone spoke. "Give her to me." Pain and weariness turned what should have been a familiar voice into a half-recognized echo. "No," Janani tried to say. It stayed a tired whisper in her mind. She wanted to hold this new life for as long as she could. There was a rough fumble, nails scratching against her forearms, and the warmth of newborn, new-drawn skin was gone. Her daughter began to cry again. The noise stuttered into existence like a steam engine's chugs. The door closed, muffling the sound. Was it Shubha? No, it couldn't be. Her friend was gone, pushed out a long time ago, before the pains became so strong Janani forgot what was around her. Get up, you idiot, she thought. She raised herself onto one elbow, then rolled onto the other. Kamala loomed over her, hands on Janani's shoulders, gently urging her down onto the thin pallet. Her wrinkles had reshaped themselves into grim worry. Rest now, child. Janani's arms were shaking beneath her. She collapsed back on the bed. One hand came down on the mat with an angry thump. She'd lost track of the hours she'd lain here, but exhaustion was drifting over her like fog. Sleep dragged her down, blanketing the echo of the baby's cries. Janani woke. The shutters had been opened, letting bright sunlight and the heat of the day pour through the bars on the window. Light extended in strips over the room, reaching up onto the bed and over her ankles. Her feet were as warm as though they'd been lying on coals. She lifted them, drawing them up into the shade. The smell of blood and must had dissipated, carried away by fresh air laced with the familiar aromas of the village. Chickens, the tamarind and tomatoes in simmering rasam, ground rice, cow dung, motorbike fuel. For a moment, she lay staring at the roof thatching, disoriented by dreams, blinking in the broken darkness. There was a plastic pitcher of water on the tiny round table by the bed, crowned by an upside-down steel tumbler. It woke her thirst. She sat up, tensed for the sharp shoot of pain she remembered even from that first birth, Lavanika's, 5 years ago. When there was nothing but a dull ache, she shifted her legs over the side of the bed, the cement floor cool against her feet. The water was already warm. She drank anyway, cup after cup, until she became aware of the low hum of voices beyond the door. The tumbler abandoned, she pushed her fists against the pallet to lever herself to her feet. A fresh sheet had been laid under her as she slept, and she noticed for the first time that her nightdress, sticky with the wetness of fluid and blood and piss, had been changed. Kamala's bag, with its lotions and powdered herbs and roots, had disappeared. The tiny room which held everything Janani owned was as cramped but as tidy as ever. She had managed to finish folding her fading saris during the earliest pangs of her labour pains. They were stacked as she'd left them, on top of the squat, splintering cupboard that housed her husband's clean lungis. Her ancient sewing machine sat nestled in a corner. The straw mat that Lavanika sometimes slept on, when the heat was unbearable, was rolled and leaned against the wall, and Janani felt a deep, desperate yearning for her, to bury her face in her soft curls. But she'd sent Lavanika away with Shubha, away from the pain and blood of birth. And the room was empty, but for her. The baby. A memory of that petal-soft skin. She staggered forward. A glint in the sunlight caught her eye, drawing it to the gold-framed picture of the goddess Meenakshi Amman that had been her mother-in-law's wedding gift. Janani stopped, her hand on the door latch and her womb throbbing.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?